Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we are focusing on Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 187. I'm not sure if this one has... Oh, yes. The name is Tokyo Number 2 Colony, Part 6. We're still in this colony. We're still in this fight, and it just keeps on going. But I, as I said, I'm Jason Hahn. I'm a writer for Screen Rant. I write video game news, and I'm a huge manga fan. And I got some other buddies from Screen Rant who are also huge manga fans to talk about this exciting chapter today. Steven, how are you today, man?
Hi, good.
You,
Yeah, my name is
yeah,
Steven. Yeah. And I've been writing for the comic section for a little over a year now, mostly writing about manga, all the goodness at Shonen Jump, but also writing about other comics that I really care about, like Sonic the Hedgehog and all that good stuff. But today we're talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. So very excited to talk about chapter 187.
There's fists were flying, and you seemed in our previous discussions really interested in Hakari's domain expansion and his all kinds of different jackpot things. We didn't necessarily get the full manga scenario that we did in the previous introduction, but I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely.
What'd you think, Ben?
About the chapter or about
I guess
my introduction?
Yeah. Just we'll just cool guy slide into that introduction.
Yeah. So, I'm Ben. I'm also a writer for the comic section at Screen Rant. I also write mainly about manga, but also about DC and Marvel comics. And yeah, I really enjoyed this chapter. It isn't really like. It told us some new things about the domain expansion and about Hakari's powers, which just make him even crazier. But I think it didn't really advance the fight that much, but it was still fun to see. And I'm excited to see whether we stay in the present for this fight or whether we go into a flashback next chapter. But yeah, either way, it should be fun. I'm excited. I'm just enjoying where we're at. So, I understand that some people might not be enjoying this as much because it's just one big complicated fight. But that's my jam.
You're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoyed the flashback in this one. We kind of got an older look at Kashimo. So I don't know if this is newly confirmed or not, but it kind of reveals that when the sorcerers are brought back into the culling game, it's almost as if they're brought in the prime of their abilities. Because this shows an older Kishimo who's coughing up blood, supposedly from some deadly disease. And we get a an older vessel of Kenjaku also, and
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, that's something we've discussed in previous discussions. The culling game has given us opportunities to delve into the past of Jujutsu Kaisen and get more details on Kenjaku and Tenzin and stuff like that. So I loved this little glance back at the destruction that Kishimo has previously handled, and it kind of goes back into Ben calling it. Kishimo just wants to fight really strong dudes, and Sakuna is, as about tough dude as you can get.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go.
There you go.
No, I was just going to say completely random comment, but yeah, so you can go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to claim all the credit for that prediction since they did say in Kashimo's introduction that's basically what they said. But I wanted to say about the flashback one little detail that we got to see Kashimo and Kenjaku, of course, but we also get to see Ishiguro back pre-Pompadour, but just with a little top knot.
Was that him? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, because it says a veritable canon of of energy, and he looks similar enough, and he's got like a different hairstyle, but like it's close enough. You could picture that little like top knot becoming a cannon. Maybe it's more you can aim it like because a pompadour is more like it's harder to turn, but with that thing it's like a rotating cannon.
I think you're right. His face looks
That's
a lot
awesome.
like him too.
I love this conversation right now.
I totally didn't put that together, but I think you're right. And I mean, it would make sense, like, especially if Kenjaku knows about this other strong sorcerer. So I mean, it stands to reason that Kenjaku, went to go talk to this other guy and got him interested in the entering the culling game also, because I don't think we'll get any more flashback, because this one just tells us everything we needed to know, really. Like, this is how Kishimo and Pompadour guy got into the culling game, essentially. I mean, it was the only reason the only way Kashimo could fight Sukuna in a good fight was if, he died and then came back later in the culling game. So this really reveals everything that we needed. As much as I would love to see them keep on going in this world, or in this flashback, this really delivered everything we needed.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's just very interesting to see such a short flashback when a lot of shonen series generally use flashbacks as like a more in-depth look at like a character and their motivations and stuff. And here it's just like, 4 pages, and he's like, yeah, my motivations are I want to fight Sukuna, and then I could see that just being it.
Well, yeah, and just more context on Kenjaku also, because after a series of tweets I've read, it was reminded that almost 50 chapters ago that Kenjaku is the mother of Yuji. In his previous vessel, he had a woman body vessel, and it's been kind of hinted at that Yuji's parents, one of them was Kenjaku, and that's just that kind of changes the context of the series, I feel. We haven't really talked about that. So, I mean, Kenjaku's been the big bad for a long time, and I just would still love it if he just showed up in one of these culling game fights.
Yeah, although he's probably... I mean, I assume they're going to save him till later. But it's tough to say, because honestly, like, after this point, it's unclear... So we've got a couple things that are unclear. One, how many more colonies there are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And two, what happens when we've gone through all the different colonies that AA wants to show, right? And so the future is very sort of up in the air for like what the series is going to do after this sort of set up an exposition of like all these characters and locations is done. So who knows? Maybe Kenjaku could appear. Maybe they won't appear until way later. Anything's possible.
Yeah, and I you know what, I'm not sure how much more of the story they have to tell after this arc, because I mean, how do you top bringing history's most powerful jujutsu sorcerers back from the dead and have them fight the new heroes and such? Like, how do you top that? I think it's all setting up for final... I think the next arc's going to be the final arc. At least I kind of feel like the series would be overstaying its welcome if it did much more past that, because I feel like we're getting into some of the most powerful, some of the most complex abilities, and I don't really want it to go more than that. I feel like we have all the pieces sort of in place, and I almost don't want it to keep on going. I'm almost excited for it to get to a conclusion. But
I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. I've just been keeping quiet just because I've like I said it in the chat earlier, but I'm starting to slowly lose interest in the Culling game, and I'm hoping it'll wrap up soon. I mean, I don't want to be like all negative. It's just like I feel like we've been getting a lot of fights lately and introducing these new characters. I feel like that the story really needs to move forward at this point to kind of build up the Culling game. Just it seems like we're like the jumping around is good, but at this point, like it feels like it'd be a little much if they end up just going into a whole other battle like this one with these new characters. I mean that's just me though. Like I was saying, and I knew it wasn't going to. It was unlikely that it was going to happen, but I was hoping. I already forgot his name, but the electricity guy.
Kashimo.
Yeah, like I was really hoping, like even though it was very unlikely that, once before this fight started, that he would have actually run off, and it just to kind of change things up a bit. But obviously that didn't happen, and it wasn't going to make a lot of sense if he did. So it's like one of those things where, yeah, it's just like, and the way you're explaining it, Jason, like I'm like it seemed like it was more. I love the way you explained it because like this is like a monumental moment in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like we're seeing, fighters like the strongest people from the past, but we're not really. We haven't gotten really a big introduction for any of them. I mean, yeah, like I fell in love with the Euro character. Or I believe that was her name, the Sky person. But it's like we didn't really get that big of an introduction for them, and like these are like characters from the past. It's like that's like a big deal, but we haven't really gotten into that. I don't know. I'll stop talking now, but
no, man, I'm enjoying your insight into it because I mean, a lot of our discussions were just like gushing and gabbing about the things that we like. So it adds having the things that you dislike give us stuff to talk about. So don't feel bad about that. Yeah,
but what I
go ahead.
But what I really do like though is on that spread on 16 and 17. The really intense image with the headed guy. Like I don't know if you guys read that manga, Vagabond.
Yeah,
I haven't read it, but I've heard it's really
a little
good.
bit.
Yeah, like it just has that. It has that feel. Like not like so much the gore, but just like the style of it. Like it's an ancient samurai movie, and
Just like
obviously
the Edo period.
Samurai. Yeah,
like Edo
yeah,
samurais and stuff.
Yeah, like, but this is like just that image just evokes it. Like that was the first thing I saw when I saw this. Was like, oh, Vagabond. This. So that was yeah, I really appreciated that, and because like Gege's style, like I mean, you can tell that he can draw in different styles, like very very in depth, but then sometimes not as much. And that's like one of his most.
Remember a couple chapters ago when we got the adorable panda, rhino, and gorilla cartoon?
Yeah, this is basically the exact opposite.
Yeah,
in almost every way possible.
Yeah,
it kind of brings up the thing in the manga industry where it's like a lot of these artists can draw like in a much more detailed way than they normally draw, but they generally only have a week to make chapters, right? So JJK goes on a slight break, 2 weeks instead of 1 week, and we get like this sort of breathtaking panel, and it's just it's interesting to think about, like, if these artists had like no time constraints and they could just spend as much time as they wanted on the art, what would these stories look like?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, just to go on top of what you're saying, like that's what makes some mangaka so amazing. Like, I mean, I just finished reading the latest chapter of Dan to Dan. It's probably Dan to Dan. But like the mangaka Tatsu, like that guy, like it's a weekly manga, but like every single chapter, there's at least 2 spreads and the detail that goes into those spreads is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know, like that guy. I don't know how he does it. Like especially just like we're just talking about how the time constraints, because like this guy has the same constraints as everyone else, but somehow he's able to create these like crazy in depth spreads, more than one per chapter. I just don't know how.
Yeah, it's insane. Like I've had myself thinking the same thing, where I'm just like, how do you do this? Like everything is just incredibly detailed too. Like, not even the spreads. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just wild.
Check out
have you
Dan
been
to
reading it all,
Dan.
Jason? Have you been seeing a little bit of it, or?
Just from like Shonen Jump likes to advertise it too, because I'm on Twitter way too much, and they like to release a certain panel of it every week, and every time it's just, especially whatever arc or whatever's happening right now in the story, just seems like super over the top and silly in a way, at least just from the couple panels that I've seen. But no, you guys recommend Dan to Dan almost every discussion we have, so it must be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it's well, we're talking about Jujutsu, but yeah.
We can
I'm
get
sorry.
to it in our rec section, but
I misunderstood what you said. Sorry.
Oh no, yeah. But yeah, like going back to Jujutsu, like I guess it comes back to what I've said previously. Like even though I like action manga, I'm really into the talking, and like oddly enough, probably I don't even remember the names of the arcs, but the one right before this, when they're just trying to find Tengen and that whole thing, like that was when I was like at the level of excitement that you guys are feeling right now for the calling game. Like when they were just setting this whole calling game up, and that introduction of Tengen, and their explanation of what's going on in their universe, like that was peak for me, and that's why I'm very excited for Tengen to come back in some capacity. Like Jujutsu, like Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm a big fan of it. So I'm hoping that like I'll get excited again soon.
Yeah. And I think
funnily enough.
Oh, go ahead.
Funnily enough, like I agree that like the whole Tengen stuff, like that was also peak to me.
Yeah.
But I sort of just view the calling game as an extension of that.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think I've mentioned this before, but I think the culling game is just a lot of setup for like a big sort of Shibuya style arc where like everyone collides and like tons of crazy stuff is going on, and it's just really good for all the setup that we have before it. And I just view the entire culling game as setup for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of view it as like we're maybe not learning more about the world, or maybe we are given the flashback, but we're learning about all the like chess pieces, all the like characters that are going to be just colliding later on.
Well,
and so
I would say the culling game hasn't done a good job of building up, more of the world, but what it is building up is like the history of the sorcerers and cursed energy and stuff. So I absolutely agree that I think it's all building up to something, and I think that something is whatever Kenjaku's big master plan is. And so I kind of going back to what Steven was saying too, like you guys are very interested in Tengen. I'm more interested in Kenjaku, just because everything has been this guy's fault, like from the birth of Yuji to the culling game, like whatever the culling game is leading up to, it's something that's been planned and in the works for possibly thousands of years, because of Kenjaku. So, and yeah, of course I'm very interested in Tengen also, because he's also been around for a long time, but I almost think that Kenjaku, I forget if his master plan has already been revealed, but it seemed like he needed to hunt down Tengen for some reason.
We still don't really know. Like, all we know, what Kenjaku's goal is from Tengen, and we don't know if Tengen is telling the truth.
Right.
Because of Megumi being all smart that he is. Very insightful character that he is.
Yeah. And then you have Sakuna to deal with also. So, I mean, I just think that, yeah, whatever this is leading up to is going to be great. It just, these fight, we've been fighting, especially with Hakari for, like almost half a dozen chapters by now. So I think we're all ready for more plot to move forward. But I feel like, especially after this chapter, we have a fantastic understanding of Hakari's powers. So I think I'd be shocked and very disappointed. See what I did there. If we get a whole nother chapter of like further explaining Hakari's powers, I think that would be wild. And very disappointing.
We got to see how he's going to, like you may be unkillable, but I'll kill you anyway. It's like, whoa, that's some big talk. How are you gonna back that up?
Yeah.
Well, in the flashback panel, we see like a huge tree just obliterated with him sitting like past it. So I'm thinking he's gonna plan on just completely obliterating Hakari and be like, all right, let's see if he can regenerate from that.
Yeah, reverse curse technique only applies to so much, It's like the whole Thanos snap. Like, you should have aimed for the head. Maybe Hakari's gonna just aim for the head.
Yeah, I'm just curious if he's going to have like Piccolo levels of regeneration or Cell levels of regeneration.
Or Boo level.
Oh
yeah, Boo would just be more.
To bring it back to a more manga metaphor than a Thanos metaphor.
Yeah. So yeah, I think next couple chapters I think should be able to rope you back in, Steven. But I'm not an assistant to Gege or anything. But
I mean, to use a metaphor from this chapter, you just gotta hold it in until you pass all the train stops that maybe don't interest you, and reach the. Maybe I shouldn't follow this metaphor through to its conclusion. But,
I was enjoying it.
Yeah, until you reach the restroom at the end and the relief that follows.
Yeah. And stay away from the lakes and the waterfalls that you're used to.
Yeah.
I would, but like going back to what you were saying a little bit, Jason, like about the history of, their world. I'm still waiting for. I'm always comparing like now to what's happened before. Like, I think the most interesting bit of history for me, at least, that stayed with me after like all these, I guess it's been years now, is when Mekamaru was fighting Mahito, and he introduced the whole thing about simple domain expansions. I think, I brought it up in past.
Yeah, our last discussion, yeah.
Yeah, like that is really intriguing history, and I want more of that now. And of course, that's probably going to be happening at some point. Especially since we're getting all these older characters. But like, I want tidbits like that, and I'm sure that Gege has them, waiting to drop them on us. But yeah, that's another thing where I'm coming from. And also, then I'm always comparing like this to Shibuya, which is kind of a crazy and pointless thing to do. Just because, like, what got me excited, like, for the Culling Games, and I talked about this before again, I'm just repeating myself over and over again. What I really liked was that there were people in this Culling game that didn't want to be here, and that's why I got really excited during Yuta's introduction here. Like, when he was protecting all of those like civilian type of people, for his battles, like that is what I was like wanting, because like that's what's really exciting about this type of thing. Like there's civilians here, people who don't want to fight, and I wanted that dynamic, so I got really excited when that happened. But yeah, I mean, Gege already, explored that type of fear with Shibuya, which is one of the reasons why it was such an impactful. Well, for me, like one of the main things about it was that the civilians were involved, and he did a good job of capturing, the chaos of what they're going through. Because I mean, you have the heroes, and that they'll most likely, even though Gege's been killing off some characters, but for the most part that they're going to survive or do well, but you don't get that when you introduce civilians into it. That's what I was excited to see. But
yeah, it definitely helps raise the stakes.
Yeah. No.
Ironically, I think
I'll just say Shibuya is awesome.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna like. Ironically, I think Shibuya killed off like a fair amount of his protagonists.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's very true. Yes, it did.
Yeah. Which is part of what made it so great, because as you said, we expect the protagonist to like survive, but they just and antagonists too. Like
yeah.
It killed on both sides, and it was like, damn.
Yeah, it was almost like if My Hero Academia killed off the entire villain association, or whatever they called their group in the series, League of Villains. Yeah, that's the one. That's essentially what. Oh man, I can't wait for it to be animated. Like Shibuya was just so awesome, but that was the thing about Shibuya, was just like we didn't know it was going to be awesome until like I'd say like literally the last half of that arc was when it just kept going. Like I would almost say like as soon as like Maki's group started fighting in the other like beach area, I forget.
And the domain expansion.
In the domain expansion. Oh, that was so cool. But yeah, I feel like we've been on this arc for so long, and we're kind of running out of characters. I almost wonder. I hope that we'll be wrapping this up soon, or I think we're just hungry for more plot to move forward, and I really think that pacing wise, we have to get there within the next chapter or two, because it's this fight with Hakari has we know how his powers work now. The only way we get more explanation of that is if he gets hit with something really, really big and then he regenerates, and then we need to get a whole nother explanation on the limits of his power and whatnot. And I'm hoping we don't get that.
I'm thinking that there's like 2 or 3 chapters left in this fight. I don't see it wrapping up next chapter.
Yeah.
Or at least if it does wrap up next chapter, it's going to be like what happened with Yuta's fight, where it like wrapped up, and then there was like a brief thing at the beginning of the next chapter where it's just like Yuta and like Ishiguro talking. Like it could be a similar thing here where this wraps up next chapter, but then there's like, or this like basically ends next chapter, but then it has a little like mini epilogue in the next chapter.
Yeah, and to kind of like jump into like the next section, what do you think is going to happen next? I think for me, what I'm like with the calling game, I really want to get back to Megumi. Just because, again, because he's with that angel character, and that angel character is one of the reasons why they're there. One of the many reasons, but since Angel holds the key to Gojo, releasing Gojo. So I mean that's a really big plot point that I'd like to see explored. I'm actually really excited about it. So like the longer this fight goes, it's like, come on, where's Megumi?
Yeah. Well, I almost wonder, like, we were just talking about how Gege isn't too afraid to kill off characters. Like, what if Hakari loses here? What if he explodes, and then we just get to Kishimo, trying to find Yuji after this?
I'm actually completely fine with that. I'm completely fine with that. I'd actually welcome that.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'd be completely fine with it or I'd welcome it. I'd accept it because I feel like Hakari's powers make it very hard to have multiple fights with him, like, be compelling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
he's
I
no
think it
longer a
would.
mystery.
Hmm?
No,
Yeah,
and he's no longer a mystery either.
yeah, exactly. And like, Kashimo's figured out like how to deal with him, right? So Kashimo said like, oh, you either deal with him like while he's trying to get his jackpot, or apparently how Kashimo's going to interact with him next chapter. So like the well is sort of running dry on what you can actually do with Hikari's powers going forward here. So I could definitely see Hikari dying in this fight. I'd be sad because I love Hikari as a character, but I would accept it.
Ye- Yeah, especially too. Like I just think I might be reading into it too much, but like right now, like he's pretty much invincible, Hikari, and if he's somehow defeated, like he won't be killed, but if he's defeated, like I am really intrigued on how that could turn out, just because right now he's supposed to be unbeatable, and if they find a way to defeat him in the next chapter, I would be very intrigued. So I'm excited for that actually.
Yeah, I think like either way the fight ends, it's going to have some interesting aspect to it because if Hikari wins, Hikari gets to use Kashimo's points to make a new rule. And we've already had the rule that they wanted to actually get in the game, which
Yeah.
is like the point transference thing. So I'm curious what Hikari would use that for.
Well, I think it was established that the rules that I think, I could be wrong, but before they all jumped in and got separated and stuff, I think that they had established those like, okay, these are the set rules we need to make for this to go well. We need to figure out a way to transfer points. We need to figure out a way to communicate with each other, and we need to figure out a way where people can exit and enter the realms freely. So if
Communicate. Yeah.
yeah, if Hikari wins, then the communication thing I think would happen. If Kashimo wins, however, I see them wanting to be able to go to different culling game areas. So plot wise, I think that could be the most interesting. If Kishimo wins and then decides to go to the other culling games, because then we've got it established that Kishimo is intimidating and scary if they're able to kill Hakari. But is Kishimo so far a character that's interesting enough to want to see their journey towards Sukuna? Because right now, especially with the whole like I just want to fight strong guys, we've met so many characters like that already. That I don't feel like that is the strong way to go storyline wise. But if it sets into motion that they're all being hunted by this, this character that was able to kill Hakari, then it'd be a little bit more compelling, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think what I'm because you nailed it on the head, like about no, I completely agree with you. Yep, you're fine.
oh damn it, I wanted to hear what I nailed.
No, like no, I know I have to go in 4 minutes, so I'm kind of
Well,
yeah.
well, I'll just say I think that like either way, it opens up a direction back to the Angel, right? Because it opens back a direction up to Yuji and Megumi's colony. So
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if they just ended this with Kashimo as being like, you want to fight somebody even stronger? Well, help us save Gojo.
yeah, no, I could see Hikari doing that on his deathbed if he does die here. So
Yeah.
And that would actually, like, his death would be so intense too, because like remember we were saying like he's like the closest one to Gojo, and if he dies, like that's a huge blow to the Jujutsu sorcerer world.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want him to die now even more.
We've come up with some theories on how it might be even more interesting if Hikari loses. So, yeah, and I mean, the calling game has almost gone too well, I think, for the good guys.
Yeah, no, it's looking. I'm being convinced.
Yeah, well, I think those are some fun theories on what can happen next. Steven, you said you got to go pretty soon, so do you have any recommendations or plugs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited about, the news about, Berserk coming back.
Oh my God, right?
You guys probably talked about it on the other podcast, but I am insanely psyched. Because I've had all of these pitch ideas I've been wanting to write for a while, but for obvious reasons, like the before the audience wasn't there, but now with this return, like it's like I'm able to like write about it again, and that's so exciting.
Oh, I
but
bet.
then just but then just getting, oh my God, and just getting more of that story, like I mean by far, I mean that is the greatest manga for me that will ever that is my ultimate manga. And so there was a big gaping hole in manga land for me.
A great sword-sized hole in my chest.
Yeah. So when that was announced, I've just been listening to Guts theme,
Hell yeah,
nonstop, like just playing in the background, like before I came on here, just having it in the background, like it's just I'm in Guts land, and yeah, I'm just really, really happy about that.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Steven is all up in the guts. And so we are... I'll use that to kind of segue into a plug for Mega Manga Mondays, because we will absolutely be talking about new Berserk when it comes out. Also look forward to just a Berserk discussion, because we'll before it comes back, we'll have to just do us all just gabbing about Berserk for an untold amount of time.
Hours.
For hours.
For hours and hours and hours.
Hell yeah. Well, check out screenrant.com for some of Steven's interesting articles about Berserk. We're all huge fans of that series, and very excited for it to come back. But how about you, Ben?
Yeah, for recommendations, this isn't like a super hard recommendation, but if you're into this sort of thing, Shonen Jump released a new manga called Ruri Dragon, which looks like it's going to be like a slice of life sort of fantasy-esque thing where like a girl just gets dragon powers and just is chill about it and living her day-to-day life. So if that concept appeals to you, it had a fun first chapter. And so definitely check it out because it seemed interesting.
I'm actually really excited too because like I'm trying to get a pitch in for it because like one of my the manga underground, like one of my favorite series going on. I don't even know who publishes that, but it's that Dragon Exchange Student stands out more than me, and it kind of has that same feel to it. And I've been wanting to write about that for a long time, so that's kind of like opened the door for that. So I'm very excited too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, everyone read the series so that way it gets popular enough to write more about. But so that's a promising thing. Also, I watched the first episode of Miss Marvel, and I thought it was very fun as well. So yeah, if you're a fan of just fun sort of teenage superheroes, like Miss Marvel's one of the funnest. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
And also for plugs, real quick, I also have a YouTube channel called YGO from Zero, where I sort of analyze the past formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So if that's something that appeals to you, check that out.
I've heard a lot of good things about Miss Marvel also. I've heard that they've really nailed like the sense of humor and kind of the quirkiness of the character without it feeling too forced.
Which is a big thing. Like I'm a big fan of the character, especially their initial run, and it's just hitting all the right notes. Except, of course, the powers are different, which is unfortunate.
That was actually, you'll have to listen to our One Piece discussion because that was one thing we brought up. We discussed the live action a little bit and how Francesco has zero hope for the live action.
I'm with him on that.
Yeah. But yeah, check out more episodes of Mega Manga Monday, where we've got discussions on One Piece, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, obviously. But we have new episodes come out on Monday. A lot of good One Piece discussions coming up pretty soon. It's a huge part, or a huge moment for that series right now. So we have a lot of excitement coming in those discussions. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking Jujutsu Kaisen with you today, man. Thanks for your time. This has been chapter 187. And I also have a YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. Do Let's Plays and comedic stuff on there. I do streams, so check that out also. But yeah, I think that'll about do it. Do you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share today, Ben?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. But yeah, looking forward to the next chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, stay tuned and find us on Twitter if you want to reach out to us at Manga Mondays. And I hope you have a good day.